call this episode "The President and the Boss Go to the Principal's Office."
All right.
No, I'm just kidding. So we're back again. So thanks for joining us, Family Through Service, V2VG YouTube podcast.
Yeah.
So one of the things we wanted to talk about today, and so this stemmed from our 2 interviews with the radio station. You remember what the radio station was? It was
I don't
out of
remember.
Manchester.
Yeah.
We'll put the link in the description.
It was Jeff Chittister and Ginger Munson.
And we got your 6, or we got your back. Something.
We Got Your 6 was the first radio show, and the other one was a morning show just with Jeff. Yeah.
So it really got me eager to get back into doing this. We were on a roll for a while, and then the organization really exploded into a much bigger project. And but what we want to talk about today is, so we have Jen, who is the thrift store manager. We call her the boss because she's, she keeps us in line. But I want to focus on how, over the last 5 years, how we made our money so that Eric and I and the caseworkers can provide the assistance that we do.
Yeah.
So, Jen, if you want to give us your perspective on kind of the transition and what it was like when we were doing the yard sales in the front house there.
Because that's how it all started.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so we wanted to help veterans out, and in order to do that, you have to have money, which we did not have.
We had nothing.
So we would go to their home and help them with paperwork and see what they needed help with that we could assist with. And a lot of the times, we found that they had to move into assisted living or nursing homes, or sometimes they would pass. And the families then didn't know what to do with the items, so they'd throw them out.
Yeah.
And then that's when we decided, well, we can take the items and do something with them and keep them out of the landfill and make money.
Yeah.
So then we started doing the yard sales with these items that the veterans and their families no longer needed. And that started money coming in. And that became what we did. And it was very difficult to do that because we can only do that so many months out of the year.
Yeah.
And we can only do it every other month, let's just say. So
It's a lot of work.
And it's a lot of work. And it was only for the weekends, so.
And that was the other thing, is
set up the yard sale, breakdown, and then we had some stuff left over, so it was more than just the yard sale time period itself. It was like a week-long event.
Didn't have a whole lot of stores, especially once you and Bob created the office for us. We lost a lot of storage.
Yeah. We used to work in the office when it was also
It was
storage.
just a 2-gar,
Yeah.
Do you recall about how much we were making for the summers?
So I know that when we first started, because I also wanted it to be a community service project as well, we didn't price anything. So none of our stuff was ever priced at the yard sales.
Donation only.
So it was a donation only, whether it was a couch, a dresser, or a scarf. They paid whatever they wanted. So every weekend we held a yard sale. I think we held about 6 a year. We made approximately $2,000 to $3,000 a weekend, which seems like a lot for us.
Yeah,
but for a donation only yard sale,
yes.
Hey, it's not bad.
Yes.
And everybody thought it was a dumb idea. So donation only.
Between $15,000 to $18,000 a year, roughly.
Yeah. So that and we did it during COVID. So 2019, 2020 was still COVID. We had to kind of reduce how many we did, but we still maintained a pretty decent income level for what we were doing.
Yeah.
Right, and this was all in the front yard, though. This was at our homes. This wasn't.
Well, your home specifically.
Yeah.
When I lived in the front house, but yeah,
we had to store it in the garage, and we had, that's what we had to do. So once we got the opportunity to get a building, to get a space to put our store, we took them up on it.
And the other thing that was kind of humorous but also a little scary was when we were doing the yard sales, we would get bags or boxes of just stuff, and my wife went through a bag and ended up having like a fentanyl package or a sticker or something that stuck to her hand.
It was on the backpack. Yeah.
Dangerous.
You were, I don't remember who you were working with, but you were going through a bag and found
Adult.
sex toys and,
Yes.
and stuff.
Toys.
So it's funny because we're veteran spouses, and we're able to laugh at those things. But I mean, there's still a high risk of danger with some of that stuff, not knowing.
And now at the store, we can actually go through the items a lot quicker.
Yeah.
We can send back the items that we can't use. If there's something in there that is dangerous or that we can't use, we can send back. We have better control over a lot of things.
Yeah, more controls.
We
And
didn't-
now in a weekend,
Yeah.
roughly, we make about $6,000 versus the two.
And we're open, so you're open Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays, right? And it's 9 to 3.
Yep.
So we didn't really have regulations when we did the yard sale. Like pretty much anything was available to go out.
Right.
Since we took over and started doing the store, what things don't you take over at the store?
So we don't take printers. We don't take bed pillows. We don't take beds anymore at this time. I think that's just about it. We
I
take
don't
some.
take guns and
Well, yeah.
FFL stuff. You don't really take like used medicines and things like that, or stuff that we're not legally allowed to sell.
Yeah. And then certain things we cut down on, like books. Well, we don't really do clothes either, right? Anymore.
We do outerwear.
Okay, so, but
Yeah.
all that stuff, we used to have, half the yard used to be covered with clothes. So
Yeah.
that was a huge transition.
We found through the years the best thing for us to sell is household items. That's what people
Yeah.
need. They need a toaster. They need a TV. They need lamps. They need practical stuff that you would get at the store, but
Well, part of it is also you don't want to compete with some of the area stores, and it's not the big thing, but it's also a consideration.
That's true. I mean,
There's some area stores that
Yeah.
do clothing.
I know
and
Whitefield has a couple stores. Lancaster has.
We have a relationship with Little
So,
Red
yeah.
Wagon and things like that, and they give some of our customers when we buy gift cards a discount. So those aren't the consideration, but it's a consideration, and of course there's space involved.
So
Like we don't have clothing racks, right? We don't have a lot of clothing racks.
yeah,
We have one.
we don't
Just
do
one. Yeah.
any of that stuff anymore. So when we got the opportunity to do the store, what was your initial expectation before we actually opened, and what were you hoping for?
I was hoping to pay rent. So I had a discussion.
That's right.
I had a discussion with the Presbys, and they offered us the building that we're currently in Franconia. At a really good rental price. It needed a lot of love.
Oh, yeah.
It was very run down, and it was a convenience store previously, so it was very dirty and greasy. And we did the best we could to make it what it is today. And my goal was
Some
to
pictures up about
Yeah.
it.
at least cover the rent.
Yeah.
And
We had no idea, right?
yeah, because the Presbys were really good to us, and I said he asked how much money we had to pay rent, and I said we had nothing.
They were planning on demoing that entire
Yeah.
space.
Well, they don't
anyway,
have. Yeah, they
so-
don't have a plan with it.
They were just paying property tax. So
Yeah.
they said we got it for a year or two.
But then, so we were able to pay rent, and then we were able to keep it. So if we weren't able to pay rent, it wasn't a space that we were going to be able to keep.
Do you remember about how much we made, like the first weekend or the first month we had the store?
I don't remember.
I think it was close to $5,000 because it was about what we were making per year for the yard sale.
Yeah,
And we did
I
it
know
in
that you were
one
surprised because also the community. We weren't sure how the community was going to perceive
Yeah.
a thrift store in the area because it's sort of a higher class community, being Franconia and right next to the mountains, the ski community.
Yeah.
We just didn't know. We took a chance.
And so when you took over the building and turned it into a thrift store, it was, most of this was on you, but you had one of our board members, Nancy, and this was a small committee. There was only like 2 or 3 people with you initially to kind of get things started.
Amy helped me, Nancy, and Mike.
That's right. So,
And a bunch of volunteers helped get the store
and
up
then
and running, ready to roll.
it started turning into huge output with volunteers, which actually helped our board grow.
Yeah.
And at that point, nobody was getting paid. There was no
Right.
paid
No
position.
one got paid. We had
And
no paid caseworkers, and
you
we had no
have
paid employees.
Repeat volunteers at your store, right?
We do.
Yeah.
So-
So they keep coming back because the mission is good, and Jen has a sign at the store that says "My Happy Place" or "Our Happy Place," the Happy Place, because she tries to keep it light there. It's she's got music playing, and she tries to keep it lighthearted and fun, and not a gloomy kind of grumpy place to be, like our office.
Yes.
Just grumpy office.
And so I'd say probably the first year and a half, we really didn't have set policies for the thrift store.
Right.
What kind of growing pains did you have to endure during that time before we actually had everything written down and approved by our board?
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing was getting off of the yard sale mindset, trying to get into a store mindset where you can't take everything and where you don't have to take everything. For a yard sale, we had the garage open, whatever people put in there is what we took.
Yeah.
Now we were able to go through the items and be able to accept things that we knew we had room for and that we could use versus stuff that we didn't have room for.
Yeah.
So
Or that we knew we couldn't resell.
or trying to figure all that out was,
Mm.
I think, the hardest. And trying to continue to do the donations only. Because I wanted to
Yeah.
stick by that. And that's difficult because people see that kind of as some people see it as a strength, some people see it as a weakness. Some of our volunteers like it, some of our volunteers disagree with it. Because you got some people who will donate, $1 for a glass, which is more than acceptable. And then you have some people who will put the glass in the bag and not give us anything for it.
Yeah.
So it's a balance because I want to keep the donations only policy.
And one of the things I did notice too when you guys first started the store was that you were the go-to for every single thing, and if you weren't there for any small amount of time, people kind of just applied their own personal policy or whatever. And I know sometimes, or a lot of times at that point, conflicted with what your image was, and this was your baby. I mean,
Right.
Eric and I and the board were supporting, but you put all the real work into it.
Right.
So there were some conflicts there, but you were able to actually turn it into a full committee and have meetings with the people, the volunteers and the board members to create policies.
Because they're not paid employees, they're just volunteers. So
Yeah.
they're taking their time that's precious to them and they're spending it with us, right? And then they're helping us do this mission. So I want to make sure that we're giving back to them. So I let them have a voice. They tell me what they feel and how they think things should be done. And that doesn't mean I'm going to do it that way, but I definitely take it into consideration.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of our things have been changed and done. And it's all for the betterment of the store. I don't feel like I should dictate how things are done or should be done. But if they're my thing with the donations only, I still want to keep it. We also have priced items. That's one thing that I won't budge on, is pricing
Yeah.
everything in the store.
And we came into some issues where people would buy stuff and then right after paying for it, they'd be like, you can sell it for so much more. And
Yeah.
And
so,
we do, and we know that. So with that, sometimes people have a hard time because they think we should be able to get $200 for this item, and we may only price it for $75.
yeah.
And I try to let them understand that we're trying to make money for the charity, but we're also trying to move the items, right? Because we can't take new items unless we move the old items.
Yep.
And we want people to be able to come and get a good deal.
Make
So-
it affordable for the community.
Yeah.
Right, so for all of those reasons, we do it the way we do, and I think the community's really opened up to that and been acceptance of that, because at first I think it was a little bit of an issue, them feeling like we could make more money, so we should be making more money. But if you see how it all panned out, it equals
Yeah.
in the end.
And again, we always remind people we're not an antique store. V2VG Thrift is a thrift store.
Yeah.
So what they don't realize is the majority of the time, the staff of the store knows that it's worth more or pretty much what it's worth, and they choose to price it at whatever they price it
Yeah.
at. It's not that they're ignorant of the value and they say, $40 for this thing. They know.
Yeah. And
But
so
we do better too because we have enough of us taking
Yeah.
the time to look a lot of the items up.
Just wing it.
And
Yeah,
so
it's
I
worth
think
$1.
the second full year you had the store open, you were able to bring in close to or over $100,000, and that's when the board created the 5 paid positions, 3 caseworkers, you, and then the other store manager.
Well, last year, at the second year, we made $387,000.
Oh yeah, I was thinking about the assistants.
Yeah,
numbers.
no, we did.
Yep.
We brought in $387,000, or roughly, or maybe more. I don't know, whatever it was.
It's on
I know
the
that
taxes,
that's
I
what
don't
Square
remember.
Yeah.
said, something like that. So, the first year was close to 200,000.
Yeah.
So whatever we're doing,
So you're
and
thinking
I know
about what
there's-
our assistance was.
Yeah.
I know
exactly.
there's-
That's been
yeah.
out.
I know there's quirks and everything, but whatever we're doing is working
Yeah.
to some level. So I'm really proud of everybody and all the work that everybody has put into it and what we've grown and become. And I think that we're just going to grow from here.
Well,
And so
we know that that's true because 1, the volunteers keep coming back. 2, the community's overwhelmingly supportive. And 3, if you look at our direct assistance numbers, Chuck, and you know because you run it,
yeah.
our numbers have gone up exponentially every year in how much we financially assist our veterans and first responders.
Well, that's because
Yeah.
we can. And because
'Cause we
we're
can.
making more money, we don't cap it, as much
Yeah.
either.
We've even increased it.
Right, whereas a lot of other organizations are federally funded.
Yes.
They only have so much money to spend each month.
And
We have,
Right.
it could be unlimited, let's just say,
In
if
theory.
we were open whatever.
Yeah.
Like if we wanted to make more money, there's a potential for that. Not to say that, I'm
Right.
not saying that we could make as much money as
yeah, yeah.
But
And
I'm
they
just-
say it all the time. Oh, you should open more hours. You should open more
Yeah.
hours.
But I
Jen's
think,
like,
that's,
no.
I think that's part of what makes us special, though, is because we're only open limited hours.
I think that's true.
Yeah, because the store's open the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but then you have a designated work day for you and Nancy on Wednesday, and then you have volunteers that come in specifically to clean house,
Yeah.
organize, rotate stuff in and out. So you guys are basically working 3.5 days because you're only in there in the mornings on Wednesdays. But moving to the here and now, we got this opportunity to move into directly next door,
Yeah.
a little bit bigger floor space for close to the same. It ends up being close to the same amount
Yeah.
when all said and done. How has that transition been going?
It's been going good. I think so in this store, we had the opportunity to do a lot more than we did in the first store. The first store, we had to open as soon as possible to make rent,
Yeah.
right? Now we have the money for rent, so we have a month to get it all together, and we had to do new flooring, we had to put in a window, we had to put in 2 mini splits that were donated to us. So the only cost to the charity was the floor. We haven't paid for anything.
And that was half off.
Yep, we
Yes.
haven't paid for anything. The window was donated to us. The
Lumber
mini-
Liquidators. Thank you, Lumber Liquidators.
Yep, and thank you, Liz and Hugh, for the mini slits.
Yep.
So, and then Liz and Hugh donated a new bathroom vanity and a utility sink. I have another customer who is donating a screen door. So the community itself is helping us do this. And the volunteers are volunteering their time and their talents to help us accomplish these goals. So I think hopefully in a month or 2, we will be ready for an opening.
We have licensed electricians and plumbers coming in
Yeah.
to do
Yeah.
stuff, donating their time and talent. I'll put the links up to their businesses and pictures up there. They're installing the mini splits, for example. A lot of people are putting in their effort because they believe in our mission.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are getting done, and this store will be how we envisioned it to be right away.
So we'll have a little bit more freedom because the other one was like set up as a convenience store, and the way
and we had
it
to
made
use
it
what was
difficult.
in there because we had no money and we had no shelving, we had no nothing.
It's a trial period.
We had to
Yeah.
use what we had available to us, which I am so thankful for, by the way, because we could have had an empty store.
Absolutely.
yes,
But we didn't. We had shelving in there because it was a convenience store. I think that this new store is going to be better in the sense because we were able to set it up and make it
yeah,
what
it's
we
more
wanted.
your vision
Right, it's
of
gonna
what the
be
store should look
what
like,
we want it to be.
and the people who own that building. Please, if you're into religion, please pray for them. He does have cancer. He's going through some treatments, but he's gone above and beyond to donate a certain amount of time with no rent. He's really hasn't asked much of anything. In fact, you did a huge, like, blowout, sellout store where half the proceeds went to.
All the proceeds.
Oh, so
Yeah.
tell us about what your vision was with that and what were the numbers
So
for
he
that.
approached us, and he had a full hardware store, and he was tired, and he said, you know what, Jen, I don't know what we're going to do with it. Maybe we can donate some of it to you, and we can sell just about anything.
Yeah.
But we didn't need all of that, and so I first talked to the volunteers and stuff, and Nancy,
Right.
and we came, and then I approached him and I offered to do a sale for him. So before we obtained the store, we did a sale on his behalf. So our
Yeah.
volunteers
I'll put a link to the
went
picture.
over and we priced everything in his store because he didn't have his POS system. So we had to price everything in the store, his prices, and then we had to get staffing to staff the sale. And the sale was a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 9 to 3. So we had both stores running.
Yep.
That was a hassle.
Yep.
Right?
And then at the register, everything was half off. So we had to make sure that we had somebody who was able to take the half off after we added it all up.
Yeah.
And we didn't have registers or anything. This was all done on a calculator. Anyways, we were able to sell probably half of his inventory, I would say, maybe.
Do you remember about how much was because there was an actual donation jar as well, right? Where people
I
could
don't know
just-
how much was in the donation jar because I didn't count the donation
Yeah.
jar. But I know that after the sale, we were able to write him a check for over $23,000.
Holy shit, that's
$23,000, right?
And that's
and
for a
on
weekend.
top of our store still doing business, and
Yes.
I think it still made over.
Our store did just as well as it
Yeah,
normally does.
yeah.
It
So-
didn't take from us at all. I think if anything, it helped both the stores because the people, our customers, knew what we were doing because we had said it ahead of time.
Yeah,
We made an event out of it.
But we
Facebook
were
event.
doing it solely just to help him.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like that was our goal, was to help him with a retirement and whatever he may needed, And then when we got the store a couple weeks later, there was still some inventory in there, and that he wrote off to our charity,
Yeah.
and that we were able to sell and move over to our other store. And now the store is completely empty and under construction.
Yeah.
But we have a great working relationship with him and with the Presbys, and the community itself at large. I think that everybody's part of this success, And even like Casella's been awesome to us.
Yeah.
We could not take care of a lot of the things that we do without them. They help us with the eye care program.
Yep.
yep,
They help us sometimes with the disposal fees
yes.
on
That's a
certain
big
things.
one. Because there's a lot of disposal that happens in the.
You just had to go through.
But they appreciate us not throwing everything in the land. You know what I mean? We're saving stuff
Yeah.
from the landfill. So because of that, we have a great working relationship. So I want to make sure that we let people know that we have good relationships with a lot of companies, businesses, and people.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
we're all doing it for the same cause, and it's just to help people. We want to help veterans, first responders are our main objective.
Objective.
Objection.
But then after that is community. I want to be part of the community. I want us to be a staple in the community, and that's why we have a free medical room.
Yep.
That's
You know-
important. Yeah, it's a good point.
We take all the medical devices that are donated to us because otherwise they'd be thrown away. They're not allowed to resell them after Medicaid pays for them or Medicare
Yeah,
or the
And don't take it
VA.
back.
and they're super expensive.
Oh.
So that's why it is nice. I mean, we've had people literally say how we saved their spouse or whoever because we were able to give them a medical bed or
And
whatever the
it
case
is free to the community,
Yeah,
but not just. And we get this all the time. Not just veterans and first responders, but anybody in the community. Yeah. And I think that that's an awesome community service that the store provides.
so I know we talked about the store, but you guys are husband and wife, and you're basically a power couple running two different parts of the organization. Can you just sum up what it's done for you guys' relationship? Has it made things more chaotic? Has it brought you guys closer together? Like,
Jen thrives on chaos.
I do. No, I think that it's been good for us because I think it's been good in a lot of ways. I think there has been some negatives from it.
Well, there's some stresses, but
Yeah.
But I think in a lot of ways it's been growth for us because we both feel like we need to have a mission and to do something in life.
you know what it is? It's fulfillment, right?
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be fulfilled with something, and the reason that I started this, and because you're a plank owner of this organization, you're one of the co-founders. So we you need a mission. You need something to do, and I couldn't do this alone, and
I couldn't either.
Jen can't either. But Jen, being my primary caregiver, she also needs an outlet, and
Yeah.
everybody needs something to do. Everybody needs an outlet, and her outlet can't just be taking care of me and the kids. So she's always been in retail. She's management. She does these things. So this is her lane.
But for like 20 years or so, I didn't work.
Right.
And I stood home.
Yeah.
We have 6 children.
Yeah.
We homeschooled. You know, I took care of Eric through all of his surgeries.
So now she's like, I need this space for me.
But now that I have this, I don't want to lose this either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So because I have this, I enjoy it. I enjoy helping the community. And I enjoy being able to provide for my family because I haven't been able to do that for a long time. But we don't agree on a lot of things. We don't.
Which is
Which
fine.
is fine.
And so that becomes a little bit of a thing because I'm very stuck on what I want, and he's kind of stuck on what he wants. So we disagree a lot, but it grows. It grows who we
Now
are.
we disagree on more.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the other thing too is because we're do everything together and we're part of everything. His thing is you have nothing to talk about. Well, I don't because he's part of everything that I do. So I really don't have nothing to talk about. So that's another thing. Whereas if I worked somewhere else, I'd come home and I'd have
Wait a
tons to
minute.
talk
Is
about.
this therapy? What are we doing
Just saying.
here?
And-
What are we doing?
Those are the downsides.
The other thing is too is when before Eric made all the growth and improvements in his own health and everything, you didn't have anyone to vent to about all the stuff you were suffering through taking care of him. You had not that long ago you had 4 kids in school.
Yeah.
You like so now you
Now we have
get to
Zachy
vent to
in
each other.
Peyton School, right?
Jacob.
And
You
Jacob,
know-
Jacob's still, he's in his
Yeah.
almost his last year.
So now you can vent about the store, and he can vent about the
Yeah.
office stuff, and
think
so
it's been good for
it's a
all of
little
us.
bit more freedom.
But we're also giving a lot of people a mission too. We're giving that. We're not only having those spaces for us. We're giving those spaces to other people.
And that's what I keep coming back to is our volunteers keep coming back because they believe in what we do. And they believe in why we do it. And who we do it for. We're
So-
just trying to help people, right?
just to end this, we'll give each of you guys an opportunity to talk about what everything over the last basically almost 10 years, 8 years, what it's done for you individually as a veteran, and where it's brought you for growth, and you as a caregiver to go from I have to be here to make sure my husband gets his medicines and make sure he all that you are a saint in a lot of ways with what you had to deal with between the kids, and then you have a daughter who's very much like you in a lot of ways, but what here and now, what would you tell people about your experience with creating and V2VG and where it is now?
I guess in a nutshell, I'd say if you find a need out there in the community, do something about it. Because we did, right? We were up here in the North Country. There's nothing to help veterans and first responders. So we said, fuck it, let's do it. We knew nothing about starting a charity or starting a, like, just do it. You'll figure it out as you go. If your mission is true and you have integrity, you'll be okay. If you do it for yourself first, it's going to be different. We didn't do it for ourselves primarily. We do it to help other people. So if you're on the right track, you'll get through it. And you got to surround yourself with good people.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, it's going to be a lot harder.
I think that's the big thing too. Yeah, just I think that if you do believe in something, that you should put your all into it. You know,
Yeah.
and I think you'll get something in return. You know, and not that you do it for that, but I find that it definitely is fulfilling. It's tiring sometimes.
Yeah.
You know.
We've talked
But we
about
know
that.
why we're doing it, and that's all that matters. It doesn't matter because we get a lot of criticisms,
Oh, yeah.
from different people, different organizations. You should do this, you should do that. And at the end of the day, it's really what you're comfortable with and what you feel is going to work.
That's right.
So I think that no matter what it is, I think that you shouldn't take the outside's view on it because, I'm not very educated and I do not follow rules
That's true.
at all. No, seriously. So
I make rules to break them.
I have you guys to help me put the rules in place, and make sure that I am staying on track. Gwen helps with the finances. We have a good team that helps we're not all good at everything, you know. And you
That's
have to,
true. You
have
gotta
to
have a
accept
good
the
team.
help.
You have to have
Yeah.
a good team.
You have to accept the help and the criticisms. I think that's what helps you grow.
The last thing I would say is you have to be ready to fail, right? Fail forward.
It's
If
okay
you're
to
gonna
fail.
Yeah.
It's okay to fail but you got to grow from it. And like I talked to you, Chuck, a while ago. I said if this whole organization crumbles and crashes, that's fine because we helped a lot of people along the way.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about.
Failing is not giving up.
No.
You know,
Yeah,
There's a
and there is a
difference.
difference.
I think
Yes.
that's what people think. You know, when you fail, you've given up, and that's not true because we failed at many things.
It's an opportunity to learn.
Right, and
Yeah.
then change whatever it is that's not working and make it better. I mean, I think that's a big thing is growth. You know, you need the growth and everything, and we've been able to accomplish that.
All right. Any other shout outs or any other points you guys want to?
The last point, the last point I'm going to make is what we say all the time. Veterans to Veterans group. Jen said we work with a bunch of organizations and businesses and everything. We are absolutely apolitical and a-religious. We don't care what your politics are, local, state, federal. We don't care what your religion is. We care if your mission aligns with our mission. We are mission-oriented, mission-focused. Right? Everybody in Veterans to Veterans group is allowed to have their own views, opinions, beliefs, lifestyles. Doesn't matter. If you are part of our mission, you believe in our mission, and you're a good person, you're all right with us. As long as your views and stuff doesn't bleed over into what we do, you're all right by us. That's what I say.
Well, and just to end this, if nothing else, our viewers and listeners, if this interview and opportunity doesn't convince you of what our motto is, family through service, I'm not sure what will. Thank you again, Jen and Eric, for giving me the opportunity to kind of put you on the firing line. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are we ever going to see you again on video, Jen?
No. First and only.